All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball. Week 17 recap is finally here. Got a lot of clinching, got a lot of everything to get into right here. So let's get started with some Christmas Day football.
Yeah, so let's kick it right off with the Chiefs and the Steelers. And the Chiefs, they just continue to show the powerhouse team that they have. Mahomes, 320 yards and three touchdowns. His whole offense was just continuing to roll against this whole Steelers defense. And this is one of the pretty good defenses in the league there. But the Chiefs, they obviously had no problem there. And then obviously it's really great to see one of their other offensive weapons back, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. This is just his second game back after having his debut against the Texans last week there too. So obviously another slow game. He got another 40-yard game just like he did with the Texans game, but obviously coming back from that horrible injury, so he's obviously going to stay a little bit rough for here on out there. But it's always going to be nice to have him for playoff time there too. But the connection with Mahomes and Kelsey, it's still finally there. It's still looking like one of the better connections we've been seeing for the past couple of years there too. He had himself a game, 84 yards and a touchdown there. And the Chiefs defense is finally showing out once again after having a slow past couple of weeks there. Finally slowing down this really nice the Steelers offense. Now moving on with the Steelers there, we're finally starting to see the downfall of the Steelers coming into the season. Now instead of them starting off slow, picking it back up to end with a mid record, they started off hot, now finishing it down with the 3 losing streak. They had a division up. The AFC North at 10-3. They had the division right in their hands there, and then this losing streak is just what's getting to them there. They're 10-6 now. You know, Mike Tomlin's winning record. It's still going to be solidified without him having a losing record there too. But not really much to say there when your whole team's pretty much in shambles, especially coming towards playoff time and seeding implications.
Yeah, I mean, it's the usual Steelers late season collapse that we're kind of gotten used to. Obviously, when they started 11-0 just a couple years ago. But yeah, like I said, Chiefs back at the 1 seed. Black Magic just continues to help them. And we went to the second game, and I mean, this one's a snooze fest. Ravens, Texans. I mean, not much to get into, just absolute domination by the Ravens. I mean, this offense just growing and growing the dominance that we've seen from them. Lamar Jackson, look at the stats. I mean, sure wasn't the greatest, but I mean, he's really throwing himself right back into that MVP conversation, which looked like Josh Allen was running away with it. In my opinion, he probably still is on top. That might be against what a lot of people are thinking. But a great game to keep himself in that conversation. Derrick Henry as well, another 150-yard game, getting him back into the end zone once again after, I believe he took a while out, finally, getting himself back on the score sheet. Both tight ends, which obviously likely's been giving me issues. Mark Andrews been giving a lot of people issues. Both of them getting into the end zone, great games for them. I mean, just an all-around great game. And then, of course, defensively, holding the Texans offense to damn near nothing. I mean, CJ Stroud under 200 yards and a pick. Mixon under 30 yards, Nico Collins under 60. I mean, this defense that a lot of people were really starting to have some doubts about this Ravens defense. I know it's a struggling Texans team, but this does tell us a lot. And like I'm gonna say, for this Texans team, you locked up the division. You're probably gonna be stuck at that 4 seed once again, and it's starting to look pretty rough on them actually getting out of that divisional round. Out of the wild card round, probably just gonna be a one and done type team, man. I mean, it's just overall a really disappointing showing to close out this season.
Yeah, I mean, they just had a pretty inconsistent season. This Texans team, I mean, really great showing here, bad showing there. It's really starting to show it there. So one and done is probably going to be the best case for this Texans team. Now, you thought that was a snooze fest. Oh boy, we're getting back with these boring Thursday nighters, the Seahawks and the Bears. Total score is 6-3. I mean, call it what you want. Horrible offense, great defense, or call it or reverse there. This was just a pretty boring game all around there. Both offenses, it was really lackluster in there. Caleb Williams, he finally snapped a streak of completed passes by a rookie without interception, and I believe it was over 300. I forgot the exact stack there, but he finally caught out an interception there. Caleb, he's been having a pretty consistent streak there too. I mean, we see the rookies. We see the touchdown throws he's been having with the lesser interceptions there. Obviously, in the pocket, in the pass game, he's obviously been containing the ball there too. That's obviously a bright spot to see. But when your whole offense isn't going, same with the Seahawks team, when your whole offense isn't going, it's really hard to see. I mean, this whole team was built around him for him to succeed. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, who's got in the first round as well in the draft there too. You get DeAndre Swift in the offseason there. It just seems that this whole offense, it just seems to not be clicking there. I mean, this was just a defensive battle all around. Two great defenses trying to stop the ball, but again, this is just a tell of who's going to get into kicking position first, and the Seahawks ended up capping off with Jason Myers for those 2 field goals that not pretty much, but got them the win there. And then the final drive with Caleb Williams, it was looking like a pretty promising drive for a game winner or a game tying field goal there too, but the O-line, The O-line just needed to hold up just a little bit longer there, but the Seahawks, they're just rushing everyone. Caleb just had to throw up a prayer and unfortunately ended up getting picked off there too. So a lot of problems going on with this Bears team, not necessarily just Caleb Williams there, but the O-line being one of the bigger issues there. The Seahawks, well, we saw there too. The Rams pretty much locked up the division there. The playoffs were kind of done for the Seahawks team there. Another unfortunate showing for Geno Smith and this whole Seahawks team.
No, forget kind of. It's done. It's official. My Rams have won the division, which I'll get into obviously in a little bit. But yeah, disappointing way to end the season. I mean, hey, in a win, but the way they played, I mean, they deserve to get eliminated from the playoffs, and rightfully so. Which we'll get into everything that ended up happening with that tiebreaker scenario in a little bit. But go into the Saturday slate, us that triple header, and I mean, I guess you can call this one the snooze fest too for any kind of actual competitiveness. The Chargers absolutely smoked the Patriots. I mean, expected result. I mean, Chargers clinch a playoff spot, first one in 2 years, so big for them. Jim Harbaugh, obviously having just completely resetting the culture here, and getting them back into the promised land. Hope see what they can do in the playoffs. But big story of this game, Ladd McConkey just had a career game for himself. Just overall, I mean, it's just incredible that they finally got the receiver for Justin Herbert. I mean, this was kind of the dialogue throughout the season. No receiver help for Justin Herbert late into the season. Now he finally has someone emerging for himself, and with those 2 touchdowns, almost 100 yards, but still phenomenal game for himself. And let's also not forget the Patriots were the ones who gave the Chargers Ladd McConkey in that trade that they ended up going for Jalen Polk but forget the Javon Baker. I mean, I think we can clearly see who won that trade. Patriots are probably regretting that move. And other talks, I mean, hey, J.K. Dobbins coming back for the Chargers off IR. Decent game for himself into the end zone and 76 yards. So just overall, I mean, exactly the kind of results that you want to see, taking that momentum into the playoffs. And for the Patriots, I think the one key takeaway that a lot of people had to look into is Jerod Mayo might have to go at the end of this season. Of course, we know the front office was saying, it would take a huge collapse, just a monumental collapse for them to even consider him going. He seemed to have his job safe, but after a loss like this and just overall, I mean, we heard the chants, everyone wants him gone. It's the front office that's going to have that final say, but in all honesty, you see probably not much improvement. If anything, they're worse this year than last year. I would think the right move would be to let Jerod Mayo go.
Yeah, we thought he was going to get more of, I guess more of a safe end just because of, how built that Patriots team is, assets that they don't have there too. But if you end up being worse than last season, that's obviously a sign there to go. And now moving on with the Broncos and the Bengals. Now, finally, this was one of the other great games with a lot of implications in hand there. The Bengals, I mean, Joe Burrow, if the records was different, he probably would have been the MVP. I mean, for going from 4-8 to 8-8 right now with just, a couple scenarios left there to finally secure a spot on the playoffs, he's really getting it done with all this. This whole offense is really getting it going. Burrow, 412 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then his supporting cast. Ja'Marr Chase, we've been seeing he's been the number one receiver all season, really putting up the workload in this offense there. But T. Higgins, he really stepped up in this game as well, 131 yards and 3 touchdowns, really being the game-defining factor in this whole game all around there. He really boosted up his stock for free agency in this game alone there. I know he's going to be asking for at least 20 mil plus. We're just going to see which team's going to be willing to give him that amount of money there. But I believe after this game, T. Higgins, he really showed up to, potentially be a receiver one and one of these teams there too. The defense as well. In crunch time, when it really mattered the most, this defense with the Bengals, we saw how struggling they've been all season, and is why they were at 4-8 at one point with Burrow putting up all the work there. They stopped Bo Nix and the Broncos when they really mattered the most come down in overtime there. And Cade York, this really should have been overtime if he just made that field goal, and it would have been lights out for there too. But unfortunately, it didn't go out that way there too. But it's really nice to see Joe Burrow really overcoming all these odds from 4-8 to 8-8 right now there too. They just need to win this week. A couple other scenarios need to play out there for them to secure a spot, and this would be one of the seasons to tell for the next couple of years there. As for the Broncos, Bo Nix, they're still there. The implications, they're still there too. They just got to win once again there too. Another great game for Bo Nix there too. But again, it was just the implications that went into stake there too, and then unfortunate results that ended.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, still everything in the Broncos' favor. All they need to do is beat the Chiefs' backups, but obviously that's no easy task at the end of the day. They're still going to be playing hard. We'll just see what ends up happening in Week 18. We'll get a lot of those scenarios out in the coming video. But into my game, Saturday night showdown, the Cardinals and the Rams. And I mean, another snooze fest for my Rams. Let's be honest. This offense have just been anemic. It's rough to see, especially going into the playoffs line. Now, obviously, we clinched that spot, and we'll get into as we go with all those tiebreakers we ended up getting. But I mean, it's just been lackluster. I mean, Matt Stafford again under 200 yards. I mean, Kyren Williams, sure he got into the end zone, but it was a rough game for him. And I mean, the highlight of this game, obviously for us, Puka Nacua. Once again, damn near 130 yards with 10 receptions. I mean, that's probably the only bright spot we got overall. I mean, we look at the Cardinals. I mean, the only reason we ended up winning this game, Kyler once again throwing it away. Remember that Vikings game that he pretty much threw that game away? Same thing here. Down the stretch, 2 brutal interceptions. Obviously, the one to Cam Kitchens, Hail Mary on 4th down. I don't know what the plan was there, but great play by Kitchens. I would have thought he should have batted it down, but keeping us inside our own 5-yard line, had to punt it right back. Then Ahkello Witherspoon, someone that obviously, if you watch these videos, I'm high on him. I'm always talking about, we need him as our CB1. Proved it right here. Why? A beautiful tip drill play off Trey McBride's face mask, which also get into Trey McBride finally getting to the end zone for the first time. As you mentioned last week, the most receptions for a tight end without getting into the end zone. Finally gets it here. And also, let's just mention 12 receptions and 123 yards. Phenomenal game for him once again. But it's just Kyler Murray. I mean, just call it luck because of the play, but that was just a hell of a play for Kello. And also another big play that obviously ended up saving this game. Michael Hoyt, that block on the extra point coming down to a crucial. The Cardinals ended up needing a touchdown instead of a field goal to go ahead and tie this game or go ahead and win this game. But just overall, at least defensively, seeing a lot of growth, a lot of potential for heading into the playoffs. But as the playoffs near here, I really need to start seeing a lot more of this Rams offense.
Yeah, I mean, you can see at least, they came back for him, having that, pretty down the record down in the NFC West there too. But like you said there too, this offense is going to have to be a big step because I don't know how much the defense is going to handle, coming into the first round. And now finally kicking off with the Sunday slate. First off with the Jets and the Bills. Now, let's just say this game, it was just in the Bills' favor. We pretty much saw this from the beginning of the game there. Josh Allen, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, not a lot in the past game there, too, because a lot of things were cooking up defensively and offensively there. James Cook also on the ground, 53 yards and a touchdown. Sure, it's the Jets. They suck. The defense hasn't been looking bright the past couple of weeks. Neither has their offense there, too. But with the Bills, with how high-powered the offense is, they just kept rolling. They were rolling in the pass game and in the rush game there, too. Defense stepped up. We finally saw Amari Cooper and Keon Coleman in the end zone after I don't know how long, but really nice to see everyone on the offense was getting, a piece of this work. I mean, James Cook got a touchdown on the ground, like I mentioned. Josh Allen got a touchdown on the ground. Tyrell Shavers touchdown. Amari Cooper touchdown. Keon Coleman touchdown. Everyone was getting a fair share of these touchdowns, just taking advantage, just steamrolling through this Jets team. And like we said, with Josh Allen as MVP, I believe he's going to be the candidate. I believe he's going to be the runaway favorite. I don't know why all these Lamar fans are finally putting into play here that, he has better stats there. Well, last season, that wasn't the case there with the whole stats there too. So I don't want to see any Lamar fans complaining, saying about this and that with Tamia hates him. Where was this last season? All of a sudden, y'all want to use stats. This is Josh Allen's award. He's going to run away with this award in the offseason there. And he 100% deserves it with what he was doing with this Bills team. As for the Jets, same thing. Aaron Rodgers, a lot of the whole drama is going on. I believe Garrett Wilson, I believe he's going to request a trade if Aaron Rodgers stays as the quarterback there too. So a lot of drama is going to be starting up there. And now the reports that Rodgers might not be on the team from the past couple of weeks there. Just a whole lot of controversy going on with this Jets team. And as we know, firing Saleh was not the answer.
Obviously, and for those Rodgers reports, I mean, they seem to keep flip-flopping. Is Rodgers going to stay in there into the quarterback? Switching. Is he going to go? Yeah. Who knows what ends up happening there? He shouldn't be the quarterback there, but I mean, we'll see if they actually commit to a good rebuild instead of trying to do a quick fix and finding someone else. But move on into another. I mean, these are just 2 really poor teams: the Raiders and the Saints. I mean, the Raiders pulling out a pretty strong showing. I mean, not what you probably would have wanted if you're a Raiders fan. You probably, it's back-to-back weeks that they play well. I mean, against inferior opponents, but whatever. I mean, let's get into it. I mean, big story here. Brock Bowers breaks the rookie receiving yard record set by Puka last year. So obviously that didn't last us very long, but obviously the Raiders, despite everything, they know they got a generational talent at tight end and they got something to build off of in the future. But same thing with this meaningless culture win. That's what we've been hearing the word thrown around, just these culture wins. I guess they're feel good wins, but at the end of the day, the more important thing is you're ruining your draft stock, and good luck getting a decent quarterback in this draft class. I mean, if you want to find someone in free agency, that's something that, I mean, we'll see how that's kind of turned around these past couple years. But I mean, just overall, don't really like this for the Raiders, but we'll see if this at least helps Pierce, maintain that culture. But for the Saints, I mean, put up a decent fight. It was a close game for most of it until I guess the Raiders kind of pulled away down in the fourth quarter. But overall, I mean, Rattler played okay, I guess. Stats give him a lot more slack than he should have. And I mean, hard to really expect much more. I mean, all the injuries that they got, the interim coach, everyone's probably just waiting for the offseason at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what's with teams in tanking their draft stock. For sure, the Raiders, they're probably sold out on this one. They're not the only team, but we will get into that a little later here. And now moving it on with my game with the Cowboys and the Eagles there. I thought I was going to cook with a bunch of upsets this week. I mean, I had nothing to lose. I might as well just do it. For the most part, most of them did work out, but not this one. I mean, outside of the first, one of them. Outside of the first quarter, from that touchdown pass from Rush to Tolbert. Outside of that, this team just wasn't clicking. I mean, this defense, from how good they were looking the past couple of weeks, we made Kenny Pickett look like he's freaking Manning out there for the most part there. I mean, sure, he didn't really do much, 143 yards and a touchdown there. This was pretty much just the turnover battle and the defense just forcing, all these turnovers against this Cowboys. And we saw there too, the forced fumbles, the interceptions, Cooper Rush's 2 interceptions. We saw that a lot there. I don't know why they didn't put Lance in for the second half of the game. I mean, we had none to lose. We were already down. We weren't going to come back. And at this point, it was just better for tanking for our draft spot, which is from the looks of it there too. Still, a lot of bad things came into this game, and we expected it. We pretty much expected it. I just thought I could get, run away with this upset just because Jalen Hurts was starting there. But when we're looking at this Eagles team, even without the starting quarterback, you're looking at your supporting cast, Saquon Barkley, Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, and that really behemoth of an O-line. No matter who the quarterback is in that system, they're gonna succeed, and we saw there too. With all these pieces, any quarterback, it's gonna be an easy showing for this too. Speaking of Saquon Barkley, he finally joins the 2K club in rushing, so congratulations to him. The Eagles are still not sure if they're gonna start him against the Giants next week to break that record. He only needs 101 to beat Eric Dickerson's record of 2,105 yards there too. So it's going to be a game time decision. Still got a couple days to decide there too. But just all around, this is just Philly domination too. The one more thing, congratulations for Rico Dowdle for being the first undrafted player in Cowboys history to break the 1,000-yard rushing milestone. So congratulations to him. Really stepped up in the running back world there too. We're just going to see what the Cowboys are going to do in the first round.
Yeah, I think if you get him a decent second back and you really get better pieces on that O-line, Rico's a great piece to really build around. And of course, what we were talking about with the Eagles, I think Sirianni, he's gotta consult with the board, with everyone, see if they're actually gonna play. But I mean, let's be honest, I think he wants that record, man. Let's hope we keep it for Dickerson, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna go for it. And now the game we just alluded to just a little while ago, the Colts and the Giants. This is just a funky lose-lose scenario. I don't know what the hell either team was thinking here, but yeah, Giants lose the number 1 pick. The Colts get eliminated from the playoffs. I don't know like I said, I don't know what the whole deal was, but I mean, talk about Drew Lock, man. I mean, played out of his mind. I mean, we kind of got used to, obviously, last year when he was with the Seahawks, beat the Eagles to help your Cowboys end up clinching the division. And here, I mean, he clinches a worse draft pick for the Giants now, I guess, but playing, I think statistically, at least according to EPA, if I'm not mistaken, the best game for a quarterback in Giants franchise history. So when you need it, at least that's when he brought it up. So I mean, good for him, I guess. But I'm just overall just a surprising showing there, and even more surprising for the Colts. I mean, just no fight in this team. I mean, sure, you put up 33 points, you made a 2-point game down near the end of it, but I mean, just overall, no fight overall. I mean, Joe Flacco, man, you trot out Joe Flacco. We saw the weird scenario with Anthony Richardson getting called inactive, I think the day before. Turned out it was something with his hip, or I don't remember the exact situation, but they weren't even upfront about that. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on within the Colts organization with that, not much accountability. And we see it out here, Pat McAfee just frying this team. I mean, he's done with them. We know how much he rides and dies for this team. So just overall, I mean, the one thing too that I really got to say, I know, we've both been pretty high on Shane Steichen, but we know a lot of major changes have to happen. And I don't really think his job is in jeopardy. But at this point, with situations like this, who knows? He might be in jeopardy.
Yeah, I was really disappointed in this whole Colts team all around there too. I'm still not giving up on average there. And then if you ever feel one of these days, anybody, if you ever feel that you're not full of yourself, you feel that you're a disappointment, just remember you are not the New York Giants. And now moving on with the NFC South battle with the implications and stake here for the Buccaneers. Clearly wasn't a big deal for them. They won this game 48-14 there. Now remember, for this Bucks, all they needed to do was have Atlanta lose one game, and it did happen this week. But I will get into that one a little bit there too. But Baker Mayfield, I mean, after losing to the Cowboys and just having a lot of at stake there, puts up a 5-touchdown game against his divisional rival. Sure, you can keep saying it's the Panthers, yada yada yada. It's just the Panthers. Have we been watching the same Panthers team for the past couple of weeks there? They've been putting up a fight. Bryce Young, he's been looking really, really great. He looks more comfortable, right? He's looking great. His whole offense around him, the chemistry is building around him there. So it wasn't going to be an easy game. Did we not just forget their first matchup early on in the season there? It was a close game. Would have been a potential Bryce Young game-winning drive there too. But we see this Bucs team finally holds off there too. But like I said, these 5 touchdowns just really got in there. And then Bucky Irving, the rookie sensation at running back, leading all these rookies on the ground. 20 yards, 113 yards on the ground. Definitely a steal in the draft for this Bucs team. Going to be a lifelong starter. Hopefully going to be one of the greats, coming forward there just from what he's putting up there too. Hopefully this isn't an Ezekiel Elliott situation where they just run him down to the ground for the first 4 years and just becomes washed there too. I'm not hoping for that because I really do love Bucky Irving there too. And then just one final piece, Mike Evans. Trying to continue his streak there for this 1,000-yard season, 97 yards and 2 touchdowns there. Really, really great asset there too. One more game. He just needs a good amount of yards to break that record of really pulling for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would absolutely assume that he's going to end up getting it. Let's hope for the best for Mike. And now let's bring it back down. Titans, Jaguars. I mean, this one, yeah, I mean, we were talking about when we were making these picks. I mean, you just don't even know at this point with these two. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I kind of felt that the Titans would be the ones to fall, especially with no Tony Pollard, and that's what I think ended up being a difference if they were actually gonna go to try and make some noise in this game. But look, for the Titans, I mean, a great showing for Tajay Spears. In all honesty, 20 carries and 95 yards. Looks like he could be a building piece in the future if Tony Pollard ends up moving on. And of course, Calvin Ridley, not the best signing. I mean, we were very critical of it earlier on in the season, but a decent game for him. I mean, these are two pieces that you would probably expect the Titans could really start moving forward. At the moment they hold the number 2 pick, so they get another receiver into the mix. If they actually hit on this number 2 pick, if they hold on to it, could definitely expect maybe it could make a little bit of noise in this weak AFC South. And for the Jaguars, I mean, there's only one thing that you got to look at, and it's Brian Thomas Jr. Another great game, 7 receptions and 91 yards for another touchdown. I mean, just looking like the steal of the first round at this point. Trading back, I believe they got him at the 23rd pick, if I'm not mistaken. Just, I mean, more and more, I mean, obviously Peterson's probably not going to be here. Whoever ends up being the coach, that is probably the key piece that you're going to build around for the future. And that's pretty much what this game was about. I mean, it was a generational tank bowl, probably just charting out the guys that you're probably going to, see expecting for your future. And, I guess in a weak division, there is some promise here.
Yeah, just a mid battle there too. But at least for the Jaguars, what I've been mentioning, the only bright side's Brian Thomas Jr. there, and like you mentioned with the pick, hopefully just build around him and see when Trevor comes back. And let's see, for this 1 year, we're gonna see if Trevor's really gonna be the answer for this Jacksonville Jaguars team. And now moving on with another pretty boring game with the Dolphins and the Browns there. Tua wasn't inactive because of a hip injury there too, which is really, really important because playoff scenarios coming into stake there too. But Tyler Huntley, or I should say Snoop Huntley, had to come into this game there too. And when we expected a pretty mid game from him, he actually had a pretty decent game with 225 yards and a touchdown there. So this Miami offense was pretty much looking pretty much decent all around this whole game. Again, this Browns defense, it's still going to show up and it's still going to be, in a fight to keep it in a chance there, but not this game there too. Once it could roll down to the second half there, it was just pretty much Miami there. And there wasn't really too many big bright spots in this game as well, other than Tyreek Hill going for 105 yards there. But it was just really nice to see Miami still in the fight there for the playoffs. They're 8-8 there. They don't control their own destiny. They are going to have to win next week's game. The Chiefs are going to have to beat the Broncos moving into next week there. And they did need the Colts to lose one of their final 2 games there. So that's already out the mix there too. So they just need 2 scenarios, 2 simple, not simple scenarios, easier said than done there, but they need to win. And the Chiefs need to beat the Broncos for them to sneak into that playoff spot there. Do I think it's going to happen? Depends if the Chiefs rest their stars there too. But you're asking for a lot there too. And obviously Tua would have been a nice story. They end up making playoffs. So it could pretty much going to be one and done there too. But after this game, looking at all this teams, Tyreek Hill is finally looking like he's back there. The Russian attack with Devon Achane, he's going to have to step it up there. And as for the Browns, we already saw this whole Browns team all season. The DTR had to step up there, had a pretty much had a shitter there too. Jerry Jeudy, at least he's looking like the future for this Browns team, putting him 94 yards on the air there too. For looking like a down year for Jeudy, he's having a pretty great year there too. So we're just gonna have to see how it's gonna be with the quarterback situation there. And thankfully, from recent reports, a couple days ago, Deshaun Watson, he did agree to have a contract restructured there to save the Browns a lot of money there. So hopefully they're gonna be able to boost up that team in the offseason.
Yeah, and we'll see what ends up happening there. And for the Dolphins, we know all that whole situation. They probably have the easiest one as long as the Chiefs can beat the Broncos. But it's looking like they're going to be without Tua for Week 18 against the Jets. Now, it's the Jets, sure, but, we'll wait and see if Hundley, this was against the Browns, against a better defense with the Jets. We'll wait and see and get into that a little later. But move into probably the game of the week, Packers-Vikings. Didn't start out that way. First and foremost, my apologies to Sam Darnold and this Vikings offense. I've been pretty down on them the whole season. I think a game like this is really, making me eat my words a bit. 377 yards and 3 touchdowns for Sam Darnold. Just amazing. And against a team like the Packers, who they've been one of the hottest teams in football, one of the better defenses in football as of late in the past couple weeks. A statement game like this really puts the league on notice and say, they're 14-2. League's pretty much already on notice. This one's really putting them on notice. And just overall, can't say enough. The only thing down the end of the game, we know defense kind of let up. The Packers, really got back into this game, but at the end of the day, they did enough to lock up this win. And my main thing for the Packers, Jordan Love, I'm sure, not the greatest game. Probably would have expected more out of him in probably, one of the most important games of the season. But the biggest thing for this team, they have to stop falling behind early. A lot of these teams, they pride themselves on being such a good second half team. But the Packers being a second half team is really hurting them. They got 5 losses against 5, I believe, the 3 best teams in the league with the Eagles, Lions, and Vikings. So all these games, they're playing from behind. They lead some nice comebacks right into the end of it, but they fall just short. If they can just play better from the start of the game, this could be such a dangerous team. And this could be a lot more dangerous. Let's just be honest with that. But regardless, the Packers with this result, they fall down to the 7th seed. We'll see what ends up happening. And the Vikings still have a chance to play for the 1 seed on Sunday night this week.
Yeah, when the lights are too bright, the Packers just can't seem to get it done there. We're gonna see how they're gonna be against above 500 team in the playoffs there too. And also for Minnesota, they could look like one of those favorites, but we're gonna see how it all pans out with the Lions. And now moving it on, closing on with the Sunday nighter with the Falcons and the Commanders. And this was another great Sunday nighter game when the Commanders just continued to light up when it really mattered the most. Jaden Daniels, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception there. But towards the end, this Commanders team, it was just rolling there. And then when we're looking at the receiving end, and I know I talked about with the Philadelphia Eagles with great supporting cast, Terry McLaurin, he had a shitter game. But when we see what happens when you have the supporting cast and your guys other around you, they end up the pass game for the other guys. Zacchaeus, he's been having a pretty good stretch there. 85 yards and a touchdown. The living fossil Zach Ertz, 72 yards and 2 touchdowns there too. Jamison Crowder, he only had 25 yards there too, but those were pretty much what they mattered the most there. But your 2 main guys, Zacchaeus and Ertz, they stepped up when Terry McLaurin, he wasn't able to on the pass game there too. And on the ground game, Jaden Downs and Brian Robinson combining for almost 200 yards on the ground there too. They're obviously firing on all cylinders once again on both 1-2 punch. It's really great to see that, Commanders, they found their quarterback and they found a way to step up there. The Falcons, they had a good lead on this Commanders team coming into the second half. Really great lead. It was starting to have a really great showing for Penix. For the Falcons, they really went away with this, but the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, he found his clutch gene. He stepped up, and they got the win in overtime there. So it's really everything's building for this Commanders team moving into the playoffs there. Obviously, seeding implications, they're still in hand there when we went to the next week, the final game in Week 18 against the Cowboys there. Going to expect them to have their starters there. They're going to want to go for the higher seed there too. As for the Falcons, they're the only team in the NFC in the hunt there. they need to win next week. They don't control their own destiny. They still need a couple other factors to help there too. But for Penix, I think he's looking like the future for the Falcons. He had a great game outside of that one ugly interception there, but his supporting cast, it's there. Drake London, Bijan Robinson, he had 90 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns. It's all there. It was just unfortunate that, he had a choke when it really came to when it really mattered the most there. But without a doubt, we expected it. He's gonna need time to develop. He's just gonna need the time there. Michael Penix, he's the answer for this Atlanta Falcons team.
Oh yeah, I mean, sure. Let's also remember, it's one game, so can't put too much into it. But I mean, a lot of great signs. We see off of one game with some of these other rookie quarterbacks, and we see a lot of great signs out of Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. So I'm pretty excited to see what Michael Penix can do in 2025. And just gotta say before, gotta show my love for the Commanders. That win was the final one out of 4 that we needed to clinch the NFC West. Now, for the first time since 2021, my Rams are NFC champions, and we'll move it into Monday night. And this game, I mean, I expected the Lions to just run the Niners out of Santa Clara. And this one, I mean, going down early, I mean, it was a little alarming, if I'm being honest, to see. I mean, sure, say the Lions defense is hurt. You can argue the 49ers are even worse on injuries. So really wasn't expect to see a result like this. But at the end of the day, Jared Goff did settle in. The whole offense settled in. I mean, just overall, everyone started cooking. Goff with 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Gibbs, phenomenal game on the ground with a touchdown, obviously picking up all the slack that Monty's injury leaves. And of course, Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously huge games for themselves, both getting into the end zone. Sam Laporta also getting into the end zone. So I'm not worried at all about the Lions offense. They're fine. 40 points, just absolutely whooping the Niners. It's that defense that you go up against this week 17 game that now all of a sudden you're 14-2 and you're still playing for the division against a really good, as what I'm saying now, really good Vikings offense. Some alarming, and of course that defense could slow this offense down. And I'm really excited to see what ends up happening here. And just one thing, I guess, some bright spots for the 49ers. Debo's looking good. Pearsall getting back in the end zone. The only thing is, pretty lackluster game for Purdy despite some, decent empty stats.
Yeah. Honestly, like, we've been talking about the season all the time with the Lions and this and that. But I think this injury, it's going to come back to bite them when it comes to playoffs and for that one seed. I mean, too many assets on defense. You have lost. I think it's over 10 players, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe some did come back there too. Gonna have to check on that as well there too. But again, that defense is going to be one of the reasons why, either they're not going to get that one seed or they're going to really fall short when it matters in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And that 4 seed, possibly the Rams, if something ends up happening, we could fall down to 4 seed. If they get that 5 seed, the Rams are coming for revenge, man. But that's going to do it for the games this week. We got 1 week of NFL football left. I mean, we haven't talked about it yet, but I think we could turn Bean Talk into the whole like scenarios type of thing, really get into everything for week 18. But before we leave, the predictions. Now, obviously, you threw in 6 disagreements to really try to get me back. You went 2-4, so you put yourself in a little hole. You're down 9 once again, so you need to get 10 disagreements to get your get back. Let's see what you got cooking up for next week, Christian.
I'm just for all the underdogs. Let's get it.
Go for it, man. Hey, all the backups playing, all these games are crapshoots, so who knows what ends up happening. You got a shot. But yeah, that's going to do it for us here. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you like and subscribe, and we'll see you right back for Bean Talk.